And sometimes when salespeople, they have a healthy pipeline, the number one thing they stop doing in many cases is prospecting. And you should never stop prospecting, no matter what. I mean, I think, you have a thriving business. I have a thriving business. I still don't go a day without prospecting, whether it's social media, texting, email, following up, this and the other. I'm always planting seeds, always, because I want my business to grow not only today, but 6 months from now, 12 months from now, and 18 months from now. So if you're not always planting seeds, then all of a sudden you wake up one day and the phone's not ringing as much, and you're not as credible because you're not as relevant, and you're just not in the mix as much, because out of sight, out of mind.
This is Outside Sales Talk, the best podcast for outside salespeople. I'm your host, Steve Benson, and we're here to chat with the world's top sales experts so that you can get their best sales tactics to level up your game. Welcome back to Outside Sales Talk. Today, I have Jon Dwoskin with us, and he's going to teach us how to create rewarding sales goals in 2021. Big year
Right.
for a lot of us, hopefully. So it's been after 2020 here. We're ready for the next round. So Jon is just by way of introduction here. Jon's an author, a public speaker, and a sales coach. He's taught thousands of people to step away from their comfort zone and become better leaders. Jon's also the host of the Think Business podcast and the 7-Minute Sales Minute podcast. Is that right? 7-Minute Sales Minute?
Yeah, I know. It's kind of a play on, I don't even know what. Yeah.
I like it. It's memorable that way. Right?
Yeah.
So tell me, Jon, why is now a good time for salespeople to have a professional mentor? This is something you talk about a lot. I'd love to get your take on sales mentorship and why now is a time to take action on that.
Yeah. Well, I think mentorship is so critical in everybody's growth. I'm a big believer that we all should have a minimum of 3 mentors. And especially today, when I think salespeople have such an important role. They really, in my opinion, all salespeople, regardless of what you sell, should be thinking like advisors, because salespeople are very knowledgeable people. They have typically a lot of courage, right? They're getting 99 no's to 1 yes, right? Give or take, depending on what career you're in. And it takes a lot of energy to pick it yourself up and do what you need to do. And so the way you can grow your business, make more money, grow your pipeline, have more fun, is in the nuances and learning your craft. And the fastest way to learn your craft is to have a mentor that can help guide you with better habits, a certain word, re-emphasizing a sentence, reorganizing a sentence, helping you take something from 10 words to 7 words, how to be an effective communicator, and all of those nuanced things you can actually quantify and see in the growth of your prospects turning into clients and overall conversions.
Yeah, it's a funny thing about sales. There's so much in it. There's so many characteristics, so many skills, so many attributes to be honed, so much in the craft. And I actually the only my best analogy. I just was having a conversation with a new sales intern on my team earlier today, trying to give him a little coaching session, and I was like, sales skills are like relationship skills. You can never be perfect at a relationship. You can always get better. You can always improve yourself. You can always improve, a dozen things. And so that's kind of how I feel. You can always be developing yourself, and there's always so many skills. What about the number 3? Why do you feel people need a minimum of 3 mentors? That jumped out to me.
Yeah, well, I just think, I think you need different perspectives. I think at the end of the day, you need to hone in your skill set of being able to make a decision. And so mentors are really important, but you need different perspectives. And so I think in many areas of your life, I have a fitness mentor, I have a nutritionist mentor, I have a business mentor, I have a mentor that I work with on writing my books. I have a mentor, I have all of these different mentors. And so I think if you look at the different categories of your world and your life, business and personal, mentors just help accelerate the progress, right? They help accelerate the pace at which things grow. And so if somebody can help me figure something out, even if it's as simple as what to eat or how to eat, and can get my think track moving forward and get rid of distractions to make me more balanced and more whole, then I want as many mentors as I possibly can. Some come along the way, and some you have to pay for. My business coach, I pay for. My nutritionist, I pay for. My trainer, I pay for. Right. And then I have a lot of mentors, like one that got introduced to me recently that has been an amazing spiritual mentor. And, I don't pay him. He's never asked for money, but we kind of, we reciprocate in giving each other certain things. And, whether it's book ideas or seminars or things of that nature. And so I just think it's good. It's just good for the soul.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense.
Yeah,
Well, as we kind of enter a new year and a new stage in time, hopefully here, and this is being recorded in late January. Um, what advice do you give salespeople when setting goals for themselves and their business?
yeah.
What are your thoughts there?
Lower the bar and be realistic. Think big, but reverse engineer everything to the small, and reverse everything to the small so you can be consistent every single day with the leading activities that you need to do to grow the business. So many salespeople get busy, way too many salespeople get busy doing busy work, and they think because they're busy, they're actually growing their business, but they're doing admin work or stuff that they should be delegating, and they're not doing the prospecting, the calls, the farming of their areas to grow their business. And sometimes when salespeople they have a healthy pipeline, the number one thing they stop doing in many cases is prospecting. And you should never stop prospecting, no matter what. I mean, I think, you have a thriving business. I have a thriving business. I still don't go a day without prospecting, whether it's social media, texting, email, following up, this and the other. I'm always planting seeds, always, because I want my business to grow not only today, but 6 months from now, 12 months from now, and 18 months from now. So if you're not always planting seeds, then all of a sudden you wake up one day and the phone's not ringing as much, and you're not as credible because you're not as relevant, and you're just not in the mix as much, because out of sight, out of mind. Most people, all human beings, have an attention span less than a goldfish, which is 6 seconds. And so you've got to stay relevant and in front of people, and you got to do the things every single day that compound over time to really grow your business. Calls every day, new calls, warm calls, cold calls, meeting with clients and or zooming or Microsoft Teams, whatever video you can, because of what's going on with COVID. You got to ask for the business, right? Most salespeople don't ask. You want to grow your business. I have a private Facebook group, and I was just talking about this. If you want to double your business, double your asks. I was just doing a buy side workshop for a large company. I was telling them, it was for salespeople. You want to double your business, double your asks. You want to triple your business, triple your asks. You want to quadruple your business, quadruple your asks. And then rewind and reverse engineer what you need to do to have the courage to ask, and ask in ways that don't make you sound like a salesperson, but an advisor.
Right. That's fantastic advice. And so when you say reverse engineer everything to the small, you mean focus in on the little things that you have to do every day, or what exactly do you mean by that?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm big into quantifying everything that I want to do. So if I'm saying, okay, I want to make 12,000 calls a year as a salesperson, that's 1,000 calls a month. If I then divide it by 4 weeks, it's 250 calls a week. Divide that by 5, that's 50 calls a day. Well, divide that by 5 calendar time blocking sections, that's 10 calls of 5 time blocking areas in my calendar. So it's not 50 calls. I'm breaking it down to 10 calls at a time, but 5 different time blocking sections in my calendar. Because I know statistically, as a salesperson, for every 10 new calls that I make, I'm going to actually get 1 or 2 people to actually answer the phone. So if I time block 30 minutes to make 10 calls and I do 5 of those 30-minute time blocks every day, then I can get through the calls relatively quickly. 80% of calls don't get returned. So my goal is to get the call returned and leave a message that gives people the reason to actually call me back. And so I want to break things down to that type of thing. I'm making 10 calls 5 times a day, not 50 calls a day. And you can take what number that is. Then I break it down even more, right? What is each call worth? If I get a deal, what's the client worth? Well, if I can make X amount of dollars, then and it takes X amount of calls to get that deal, then every call is worth how many dollars? And so when you start quantifying things of that nature, which is what I work with my sales people on that I work with, then you start having more purpose and intent to the call.
And let's zoom out to the macro, the opposite of reversing everything to the small. What makes a good broader goal? What makes a good annual goal or monthly goal? How do you think about goal setting?
Sure. I like looking at 3-year goals. I think it's hard to look past 3 years today. Reverse engineer that to 2 years and hyper focus in a 1-year goal. So I'm very into very specific and measurable, detailed 1-year plans, and then breaking that down to quarters, and then breaking that down into months, and then as we talked about, breaking it down into weeks and days and hours. But I believe you need a revenue goal, and you need that one anchor goal that really drives activity. So for example, it may be to make $500,000 or $1 million or whatever the number is. I need to talk to, right, physically talk to 300 people by October 1st to close out my pipeline and make X amount of dollars. Okay. Well, now I know it's all about contacts. Or I need to meet with X amount of people, right? If you have one anchor goal, you know kind of who you are, you know your business, then you have that one anchor goal and you're measuring year to date, week to date, what that goal is that's going to get you. And then it backs you into the leading activities you need to do to get to that. So if your contacts are it, then it's like, okay, if I have to actually talk to have 300 meaningful conversations, right? That means I need to have X amount per week and I need to do X amount. So then I know how many calls I need to make. And I know if I'm not converting, how I got to go back to the drawing board and figure out how do I convert more of these people that I'm talking to, right? Maybe I have to bring in a senior person. Maybe I have to work on my skill set. Most salespeople don't study their crafts. Most salespeople do not invest in themselves. Most salespeople don't read sales books, don't watch YouTube videos. They don't invest in themselves. And you must. You must.
And how do you go about setting the goal right? How do you make it challenging and yet realistic? Like I know when I set a goal for the whole sales team, I try to make it so the numbers the quotas are set so that 70% of the team will make the goal and 30% of the team will miss the goal. And if it was 65 or 75, that's fine too. But that's the number 70 I kind of have in my mind is like being really it's it means the goal was attainable and yet it was challenging if 70% of the team makes it. What about for as an individual? How do you go about setting those rules of thumb, or how do you approach actually setting that goal?
You need to know your people. You need to know what drives them. You need to know their strengths. You need to know what they're capable of and how you can coach each salesperson to their potential. So when I was in commercial real estate, and 3, 4 months before the end of every year, our business plan was due to corporate, and we had to determine what every agent in the office and all the new agents that you hired were going to make the next year. So it would be like, and I can't remember the exact dates, but like August of this year, or maybe even sooner, I can't even remember. I'd have my business plan for the next year of my revenue goals, and by agent what each of them would make. And so you need to be really realistic of not only what you think they can make of where they are, but how you can grow them as a coach, right? So how you can grow them as a manager, and that takes a lot of one-on-one time to do, and those are really important steps. And so when I'm looking, when I've managed salespeople, I'm looking at each person saying, okay, this person's making $200,000 a year, but I can get them to 400,000. And here's my business plan per person on what I'm going to do. So I work with a lot of VP of sales where we're going through their whole list and saying, okay, how can you grow this person this week? How can you grow this person this month? Here's the things. Here's what you need to talk to them about. Here's how you could influence them. Here's where you can tap into their driver. Here's where you can get them to, get that one extra deal and have more confidence and increase their conversions. And so I think when you're setting those goals, it's really, really important to understand your people to the depth of their capabilities. Because sometimes people are just, $200,000 people or 150,000, they're not going to grow. And so you got to surround them with the free agents and the experienced people that really want to grow and continually grow their business.
Yeah, and you have to make them accountable, right? I mean, and that's a big part of
100%.
what I hear you talking about, right? Accountability. And can
Accountability is key.
t- tell us about the importance of being accountable, and
Yeah.
how can you become more accountable to your results?
Sure. Well, accountability without authority means nothing. And so salespeople need someone to be held accountable to, because many don't have the strength to be accountable to themselves. And so they need that level of accountability. They need that coaching. That's why I coach a lot of salespeople, and a lot of salespeople are really loving my private sales coaching group because it is consistent. It's every Monday at 4:30. It's predictable. They can put it into their schedule, and there's a layer of accountability to the group if they want it, right? And the private coaching that I do is they have that person that can kind of keep them accountable and on track to do what they need to do. But accountability, again, you need an accountability partner, whether you hire a coach or have a colleague. But accountability, without it, you're not going to push yourself. Right now, I'm doing 75 hard, which is an Andy Frisella kind of workout plan. And you got to do all this stuff every day. And I'm part of this Facebook group of 75hard.com. And I got to walk outside for 45 minutes at the end of my day. And it's cold here in Michigan, and I don't want to, but I don't want to tell the group that I didn't do it. Right. And so in my private Facebook group, in my private coaching group, I tell them, hey guys, I'm on day 10, hey guys. And as long as I have the health to do it, I'm going to do it because they're indirectly holding me accountable, and I'm holding myself accountable. And so whatever you do, get an accountability partner to hold you accountable to do what you say, because most people really are at 60% capacity. They all have more in them. And those that want to dig deep will get an accountability partner. And those that don't will show that they are busy, but know that they've got more, but may not want to tap into it. And maybe they're not ready. There's nothing wrong with it. When the student is ready, the teacher arrives, but we all have more in us.
And another thing I've heard you talk about is um, that salespeople should be advisors. Why should salespeople strive to be advisors first and salespeople second?
Because advisors listen and consult and guide people to what's right for them, and they ask a lot of questions. Salespeople sometimes just think they need to sell, and most salespeople say, "I don't want to sound like a salesperson." Well, you only sound like a salesperson when all you are is a salesperson. And if you're an advisor and you're listening and asking great questions and you're working on your craft, then you're an advisor. And when you're giving people asking questions to understand what is the right fit for them, then you can advise them on what the next step is, not just your agenda, which is buy this because I'm selling it and I need to make a quota. And so that's the difference. That's the difference. I want to be able to educate my client. I want to be able to advise them on what a good next step is. That requires me to listen, which I do, and ask pointed questions and advise them, and maybe sometimes say, you know what, this isn't a fit. This isn't what you're looking for.
Yeah, to be a great salesperson, I really believe you have to be um, consultative and really understand your customer's business, understand their problems, and listening's so important to that. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
How can salespeople become better listeners in 2021?
What?
How can
No, I'm
salespeople
kidding. I'm
become?
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I was like, oh, the irony.
um, they can stop thinking of the next question they're going to ask while the other person is talking, and they can surrender to the conversation and just be present in it and listen and pause. And before they ask another question, think about it and then ask. You can wait 3 seconds before you ask a question. And so you need to, again, I always go back to this, but you want to be a student of your craft. And so you want to, you got to practice it. How do you get better at it? You practice it. You practice it and you role play a ton. I mean, studies show 50% of salespeople get better at sales when they role play, and most don't.
And what's something other than role playing that you experienced in sales during 2020 that you're taking into the new year and implementing and continuing with?
My Besides role playing,
Hmm.
how do you mean?
Like what's something new that you kind of came across a new concept or a new idea in the past year that you're bringing with you as a learning into this next year?
I'm doing a lot of private coaching groups. I'm seeing that people really benefit from the one to many model. And I think it's great because they learn in breakout groups, they learn as a collective, and I'm able to provide weekly rich content and speakers that are giving them a platform to really grow, because it is consistent, predictable, and there's some accountability to themselves to participate and or just be and learn. But that is something that I'm doing a lot of moving forward, and I think the world is lending itself to this type of um, um, training, and it's a different price point than my custom one-on-one coaching, and so it fits into everybody's budget, which I think is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think you got to form a habit around learning, right? You have to form a habit around making your craft better. And there's lots of different ways to do that to improve yourself, but you do have to make it something that you're doing regularly. So I totally
Correct.
see how, having a coaching relationship and whether it's one-on-one or one to many can help give you that structure
Yeah.
to make sure you're always, on a regular basis at the same time every week you're improving yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, what's one message that you share in every sales training that you do? You've done so many of these.
Yeah. um I think the message is be consistent, right? Nothing works unless you execute, and you've got to execute consistently, period. If you're not consistent and your follow-up is not good, there's nothing worse than somebody with no consistency and no follow-up. I don't know how you're going to be in sales, yet I meet a lot of salespeople who are not consistent and have horrible follow-up. So to me, it's like, if you can grow a skill, grow your follow up, make it impeccable, and be consistent in everything that you do. And not for a month or a week, but forever. You pick those 3 skills that you need to grow your business on a daily basis forever.
So let's do the next section, which is sales in 60 seconds. Quick questions, quick answers.
Let's do it.
So, as a sales coach, what are some common mistakes that you see people make when they're setting their sales goals?
Well, forget setting your sales goal. A common mistake is that you think because somebody doesn't call you back, you take it personally. And as salespeople, it's our job to call somebody back. It's nobody's job to call us back. And we'll come up with every reason under the sun. Not we, not but salespeople will. Why they, shouldn't call somebody sooner than later, and out of sight, out of mind. If somebody doesn't call you back, you call them back. You call them on Monday, they don't call you back. Call them back on Wednesday. They don't call you back. Call them back on Friday. Always be calling. Always be calling. Never wait for somebody to call you. Call them back. It's our job to follow up with prospects and clients.
And what advice would you give to someone right now who's in a sales slump? It's been a rough year. We're starting a new year. What advice would you give someone who's been having a rough time making their numbers right now?
Um, Wake up and stop feeling sorry for yourself and stop being a victim. Tune into your strengths of what made you a great salesperson, and either decide that you're going to start executing at a level where you know the fundamentals, the calls, the meetings, the hustle, everything you got to do, and stop getting in your own way. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. There is money to be made. There is business to be had. You got to go get it and you got to hustle. If you're tired and you're going to complain, then get out of sales. But there's too much opportunity and nobody wants to hear you complain. Nobody wants to hear you cry about it. Either do something about it or find a new career because it's too hard, and don't bring everybody else down.
Absolutely. And there's so many distractions right now. How can salespeople stay focused this year to
Yeah.
achieve their sales goals?
Be a student and master of your calendar. I mean, time block like you've never time blocked. I do a lot of time management coaching. Time block and stick to it, and let your calendar be your guiding light and your business plan.
Are there any lessons that you've learned through coaching or mentoring salespeople that are worth sharing with this group today?
Yeah. Never give up. And there's always a better way. There's always a more effective way and a more efficient way. And when you're in adjustment period and feeling out of alignment, you got to sit with that, even though it's uncomfortable. And you got to figure out a way that is going to work for you. The world has changed, right? The rhythm of things have changed. The timing of things have changed. And you have to adapt. And those that can adapt are going to do really, really well and pivot. And those that cannot adapt have to learn how to adapt, because this decade was considered the decade of adapting before COVID. And so we've got to learn to adapt, and we can't keep on looking backwards and saying, well, when this happened, or back then. There is no more back then. It's only looking forward, and that is it. And I know it may sound direct, but everybody's got to just realize that this is how it is, and adapt and pivot and target and dig deep into your potential and strength, because it's there and you can do it.
As an actionable takeaway, how can the salespeople listening today start building their goals for 2021?
Build a business plan, and for the year, if you don't have it, reverse engineer it by quarter, by month, and get into the habit of a 3x5 daily business plan, 3x5 card business plan. What are the three specific measurable activities leading activities you need to do every day, and make 10 calls by 10 a.m.
I like that. 10
Yeah.
calls by 10 a.m.
Yeah. Get your day started off right.
Well, I'm going to try to summarize in a couple minutes here what you've told us today. So, first of all, mentorship is critical in anyone's growth, really, and it's the fastest way to develop and learn the craft of sales. Jon recommends having at least 3 mentors to provide different perspectives. And he recommends having different mentors for your career and for your personal life. You want to set goals that are realistic. You want to lead with activities that grow the business, for example, prospecting. And you want to schedule out times in your calendar so that you can keep up with your activities and keep up with your goals and for example grow your prospecting activities. So if you calendar out prospecting for a certain time of day, he really recommends being managing your time well and being religious about your calendar. um, you want to make a revenue goal and you want to pair it with an anchor goal that drives that activity. So for example, my revenue goal is I want to make $500,000 in sales this year. And the anchor goal then is I need to meet with X number of people to do that. Accountability is really important for salespeople need someone to be accountable to. And you want to think about getting an accountability partner that can help you work towards these goals. It's when you're interacting with your customers, you want to be an advisor rather than just being a salesperson so that you can ask the important questions and advise that prospect or customer on what's the right fit for them. Whether your product is a good fit or not, you want to be honest and consultative with them. Well, this has been great, John. Where can listeners read more about your work and where can they reach out to you? How do they learn more about you and what
Yeah.
you do?
You can go to jondwoskin.com, JON, D as in David, WOSKIN.com. My cell phone is 248-535-7796. My website, you can get my ebook, How to Think Big. You can get a copy of my book, The Think Big Movement. You can sign up for my private coaching group, or you can call me and talk about custom one-on-one. And I'd love to talk to anybody. And my podcast is called Think Business with Jon Dwoskin. We've got a ton of episodes on the website and on all podcast platforms.
Awesome. Well, thanks, John. This has been a great episode of the Outside Sales Talk. If you work in field sales, you'll love Badger Maps, the #1 route planner that helps you sell 20% more and drive 20% less. And you can get a free trial at our website, badgermapping.com. If anyone can think of any sales reps out there that would benefit from learning what John taught us about today, share the love and forward this on to them. Take care until next time, everybody.